We're getting to a busy period in the Championship as it goes Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and we head into round 7 of the Championship campaign. We start off with Plymouth versus Luton Town, but we're going to preview all of the fixtures this upcoming weekend. So make sure you've hit that subscribe button and turned on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest EFL Championship and League One content heading your way across the course of this season. My League One review and preview was out yesterday, so make sure you check that out as well. But shall we get straight into it? So here we have it. Plymouth Argyle are at home as they face Luton Town. It's going to be a very interesting one for Wayne Rooney as he comes up against Rob Edwards, sorry. Now, Luton Town are coming in off the back of back-to-back wins versus Sheffield Wednesday and Millwall, but they haven't had the best start to the campaign, pretty similar to that of Plymouth Argyle, who took their first victory of the Championship season in a late winner versus Sunderland. They've been unlucky with some of the games they've played. Obviously, they've faced QPR, Watford and West Brom and Sunderland in recent weeks. They were really unlucky versus West Brom, but I think West Brom are a really good side in this division. You look at Luton Town as well, started the season up against Burnley, who currently sit 3rd in the division. Now, if we look at where these two sit in the league table, it's 20th place and 15th. A win for Luton could send them all the way up to 7th. A win for Plymouth could take them all the way up to 11th position, and I do think there's a possibility here that Plymouth Argyle pick up their second win of the Championship campaign. Now, I know Wayne Rooney's had a bit of a difficult start to life at Plymouth Argyle, but I think they're starting to find their feet. I think they're starting to find what works for them and what doesn't. It's going to be interesting to see what happens for them heading in towards the January transfer window. Is Rooney even still going to be at the helm? Obviously, it's really early to talk about managers moving, but we've seen a fair few bits of movement already this season with Stephen Schumacher, Errol Bullitt, all moving on from their clubs as well as Ryan Lowe at Preston North End. So don't think it's impossible, but obviously Plymouth Argyle head into this one Friday night on Sky. Let me know your score predictions down below. I have a feeling it may be a draw, but I do think Plymouth may be able to just edge it. Obviously, Luton Town have a really good side as well, but let me know your score predictions down in the comments. To start off Saturday, Blackburn Rovers host QPR in what's going to be a really interesting game in my opinion. Obviously, Blackburn are missing Owen Beck, who got sent off in the previous game. It'll be interesting to see what happens to that. I think it was a Preston player who they played previously who bit Owen Beck. He didn't seem to get punished, and I haven't seen anything over social media about him being punished retrospectively. Now, if we look at the previous 5 results for these two sides, obviously Blackburn's only defeat coming against Blackpool 3 games ago. They've taken a 0-0 draw with Preston, a 3-0 win against Bristol, 1-1 versus Burnley and a 2-1 win over Oxford. QPR on the other hand, 1-1 seems to be their go-to score as they finished the games that way versus Luton, Sheffield Wednesday and Millwall. They've taken a 2-1 win versus Luton Town and a 2-1 defeat to Crystal Palace in their previous 5 games. It's going to be really interesting to see how this one plays out. I think QPR have a really good squad. It's going to be interesting to see if they can keep up their form going. If we look at the league table, both of these two sides sitting in fairly decent positions given their start. Obviously, Blackburn Rovers sitting up there in 4th place. QPR, sitting down there in 14th. But there's not only 5 points separates them. So a win could take QPR all the way up to 7th position. Don't count them out for a playoff position. Can Derby County keep it up at Fortress Pride Park as they host Norwich City this weekend? It's a 12:30 kickoff and they're missing some key names in David Ozo and potentially Tom Barkhazen and Liam Thompson and even Callum Elder heading into this one. Norwich City, obviously a really good team in this division, not quite had the start that they maybe wanted, but if we look at the previous 5 games, it's 2 wins, a draw and 2 losses for Derby County, and the exact same for Norwich City. Now, Derby County fell to a defeat to a Gustavo Hamer free kick versus Sheffield United. In the previous game, they beat Cardiff 1-0, beat Bristol City 3-0, lost versus Barrow after a 0-0 draw in penalties, and they lost to Watford. Now, Norwich City, on the other hand, a 1-1 draw with Sheffield United, 2 defeats, 4-0 to Crystal Palace and 1-0 2-0 to Swansea City, a 1-0 win over Coventry, and a 4-1 win over Watford. It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. Obviously, if we do look at the league table, these two sides are really close together, just a point separating them. It's really good to see Derby pick up another 3 points. Obviously, that could jump them all the way up to 4th place. I'll happily take a draw from this one, but heading into a busy period of fixtures, will Derby County be able to take all 3 points at Fortress Pride Park? Sheffield Wednesday and West Brom go head-to-head at Hillsborough. It's going to be really interesting to see how this one goes. Obviously, I spoke about West Brom a lot over the course of this season. I'm really impressed with what Carlos Corberán has done there. Obviously, Sheffield Wednesday haven't been anywhere near the side that turned up versus Plymouth on the opening day. Obviously 2 defeats in their previous 5, a draw with QPR. Their only wins coming in cup competitions versus Grimsby and Blackpool. Their most recent result was a 2-1 defeat to Sheffield Wednesday. You look at West Brom on the other hand, 4 wins on the spin, 5 unbeaten with that 0-0 draw versus Leeds United. They've beaten Stoke, Swansea, Pompey and Plymouth Argyle. Now, if we look at the league table, it says exactly what you anticipate it to say. West Brom leading the way as one of only 3 teams that's still unbeaten in the Championship this season. You look at Sheffield Wednesday, currently sitting in that relegation zone, but a win could take them all the way up to 14th position, so do not count them out of being a decent team in this division. It's obviously still very early days. We're only into round 7. Personally, I can't see past a West Brom win, but let me know your score predictions down below. Hull City host Cardiff City, and what's going to be a really interesting game. Cardiff City obviously sacking their manager at the start of this week, and Hull City are in a position where their manager's job could be at risk. Obviously, they took a 3-1 win in their most recent game against Stoke City, a really good win as well in that one, but before that a 2-0 defeat to Sheffield United and Leeds United, and 2 draws versus Millwall and Plymouth Argyle. Cardiff on the other hand, 4 defeats, 1 draw in their previous 5 games. It's been really disappointing for Cardiff City. Are they going to be able to turn it round under new management? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Leeds United and Coventry go head-to-head at Ellen Road, and it's time for Coventry to pick up some form. They've not been their usual self so far this season, and any Coventry fans watching, let me know why down in the comments. I'm not quite sure what's going on at Coventry City, but it's not been the greatest of starts. Now, if we look at the recent results, it's 3 defeats in their previous 5, a 1-1 draw with Watford and a 1-0 win over Oxford, but they've lost to Norwich, Swansea and Tottenham. Obviously, the Tottenham game was in the Cup. And then, obviously, you look over at Leeds United, 3 wins, 1 defeat and 1 draw. Their only defeat coming to Burnley. If we look at the league table, you can see where these 2 teams reside. Leeds United sitting in that final playoff position, and Coventry City sitting in 19th place. Now, a win could put Coventry City up there in 11th place, but obviously we all know the league table will shift around as the games go on. It's going to be really interesting to see how this one plays out. Personally, can't see past the Leeds win given Coventry's recent form, but you can't really write off Coventry. They've been a really good side in this division across the course of the last few years. Are they going to be able to turn it on and find their way back to form? If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL Championship and League One content heading your way across the course of this upcoming campaign. There's obviously a lot of stuff to talk about so far this season. We've been up to date with every single game week. If you've missed anything, make sure you go back and check it out. But shall we get back to the reviews? Middlesbrough host Stoke City at the Riverside, and Stoke City under new management will look for a much better performance than that from their most recent game. Middlesbrough will also be looking to turn their sort of iffy form into winning ways, as to they took a 1-0 defeat to Sunderland in their most recent game. Obviously, Stoke City lost 3-1 to Hull City in their first game under new management. You obviously look a draw with Preston North End for Middlesbrough, a win over Cardiff City, a 5-0 loss to Stoke, who they obviously face again here, and the 2-2 draw with Pompey. Now you look at Stoke, 5-0 versus Middlesbrough, 1-0 versus Plymouth Argyle, defeat to Oxford, draw with Fleetwood, and 3-1 loss versus Hull City. It's been a difficult start for Stoke City, and they're going to be hoping to turn things around. They're not that far away from Middlesbrough, just 2 points separating the two sides. It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out at the Riverside. I think Middlesbrough have a really good opportunity to take all 3 points. I think Stoke City also have that opportunity. It's going to be interesting to see how Stoke City play under this new management system. They've obviously got a long way to go before they're settled under this new team, and it's one of those for me where Middlesbrough should be doing much better than what they are doing. They've lost some really games which they should have won, in my opinion. Obviously, you go and look at Derby County, you look at the draw to Portsmouth, disappointing results for Michael Carrick at Middlesbrough, and his job could be on the line because they've obviously spent big this summer. And is it going to pay off? Are they going to find their way into the playoffs? Obviously, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Millwall host Preston North End at the Den in what's going to be a really interesting game. Now, there's a Preston North End player who I believe should be suspended. I haven't seen any confirmation of any suspension or even investigation into that matter. Obviously, Preston fans will know exactly what I'm discussing from the Blackburn game. It was really disappointing to see Luis Suarez return to English football, but not be Luis Suarez, let's put it that way. Disappointing to see that in that Preston game. Obviously, Millwall, they're struggling, in my opinion, and I said it a few weeks ago. They don't create a high quality of chances, and they've been really unfortunate in some of their games, in my opinion, but they find themselves down in 18th position. They've only scored twice since I said about them being poor in front of goal, and I think it speaks volumes. Now, obviously, Preston North End, they sit in 21st position. They've drew 2 of their last 5 with 1 win as well in the division. Now, if we look at their previous 5 fixtures in full, which Preston North End, 3 draws on the trot, a defeat to Oxford and a 5-0 win versus Harrogate. You've then got Millwall's results, which is a 1-1 draw, a 0-0 draw, 2 1-0 defeats and a 3-0 win over Sheffield Wednesday. It feels like Sheffield Wednesday are gifting everyone points this season, so it's going to be interesting to see how they get on. But I personally think I can't see this ending anything other than a 0-0 draw. I don't think Millwall have been that great this season. I think the same about Preston North End. I thought maybe on Heckingbottom they'd turn it around quite quickly, but they haven't done so as of yet. Now, you can obviously let me know your thoughts down in the comments, but for me, I can't see past a 0-0 draw. Oxford host Burnley in what's going to be a very difficult game at the Kassam Stadium, especially since they're missing some big names in Cameron Brannigan and Josh McKecker, and it's a massive problem for Oxford that they face now. It's going to be interesting to see how their midfield lines up and how they line up as a team. You obviously look at Burnley, who are an incredible team, in my opinion, in this division. Obviously made some massive changes across the course of the back end of the transfer window, but they have been in excellent form as of late with 3 unbeaten, 2 back-to-back wins, 2-1 versus Portsmouth, a 1-0 win over Leeds, a 1-1 draw with Blackburn Rovers. Obviously, they took that defeat to Wolves in the Cup and the 1-0 loss to Sunderland, but they're still in pretty decent form. Oxford United's 2 wins coming against Stoke City and Preston North End, but they've lost to Bristol City, Coventry and Blackburn Rovers. It's going to be difficult to see Oxford getting anything out of this game, but I think third place Burnley will certainly be favourites for this one. I think if Oxford are able to get anything, it'll be an absolutely massive result, but they are sitting in 9th place. They've gone toe-to-toe with most teams in the division they've faced so far. Are they going to be able to do it again? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Pompey host Sheffield United at Fratton Park in what I think is going to be a very interesting game. Sheffield United, a really good side in my opinion, created some excellent chances versus Derby County last weekend. Are they going to be able to do it again? That's a question only Chris Wilder can ask. Are they going to be able to keep Gustavo Hamer quiet, Pompey? It's going to be an interesting watch, this one. Now, obviously, if you look at the past 5 games, you're going to think, oh, this is going to be easy for Sheffield United. But Pompey have done really well in their games, in my opinion. Obviously, they probably expected a little bit more. They've conceded late on in pretty much all of their games against big sides. You look at Leeds, I think the Burnley game they conceded late on. I think the Middlesbrough game they conceded late on. And they'll be disappointed to only have 3 points in the division so far this season. But 3 back-to-back defeats is never great, especially when your opposition side comes in off the back of 3 wins and conceding not a single goal. Sheffield United, a really, really good side. Pompey still finding their feet in the division. They've had a really, really tough start. If we look at where these sides sit in the division, you've got Sheffield United in 5th. You've got Pompey in 23rd. Now, a win could obviously jump Pompey right up into 16th position, and a win could jump Sheffield United into that 2nd place. It's going to be really interesting to see what does happen this weekend. I think this will be a very interesting game. I personally think it'll be 2-0 Sheffield United, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Watford and Sunderland go head-to-head at Vicarage Road, and before we even look into recent form, I cannot see past a Sunderland victory. I think Sunderland are an excellent team. I think they're on some excellent form. Yes, they've taken a couple of defeats of late. Well, just one. But they're a really good side. I think Watford are on the back of 3 defeats in a row. Well, no, not 3 defeats in a row. They've lost 3 of their last 4. The 1-1 draw to Coventry, their only saving grace, and the 2-0 win versus Plymouth Argyle. Sunderland, on the other hand, just 1 defeat in there, which was versus Plymouth Argyle, which was a late defeat as well. So it's disappointing for them. But they've beat Sheffield Wednesday, Burnley, Pompey and Middlesbrough on their way to sitting 2nd in the table. You've obviously got Watford sitting just down there in 8th. They're not that far away, but they've been on some pretty poor form recently, so they might drop, they might tumble right down the league. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I can't see past a Sunderland win. And to close out with the final game, Swansea host Bristol City at the Swansea.com Stadium. Bristol City haven't quite lit the league up how I expected them to this season. They made some really good signings in my opinion, but ultimately just haven't hit the quality levels. Obviously, we look at both of these two sides. Swansea City coming in off the back of back-to-back wins, but they have lost 2 games in their previous 5 with that draw to Cardiff City as well. Bristol City, 2 back-to-back 3-0 defeats before winning their previous game versus Oxford United, a 1-1 draw versus Coventry and a 4-3 win against Millwall. It's going to be difficult for both of these two sides. Swansea City find themselves sitting in 7th place. They could find themselves as high as 3rd if they win their game and results go their way. Bristol City can only go as high as 6th. It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. Will Max Bird and Jason Knight turn up, or will there be masses of changes for Bristol City? Now, we've previewed all the Championship fixtures. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button to see my review video when it comes out, probably Monday afternoon. It's going to be a massive week of content. Obviously, midweek games coming your way as well. We'll probably preview them in the review, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL Championship content. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you in my next video. Find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.